The Astronomer's Journey, Chapter 8, Fathers. Stuck in the Albuquerque phase of his life, Adam climbed into his old car. He closed the door and sighed hard. He'd hoped to see his daughter at the celebration of life, but was reminded that she was too emotional for the service. She was back with his father for the day, probably for the best. The whispered apologies and condolences from family and guests had siphoned all the well-being from his marrow. "I'm so sorry," they said. "She's in a better place now," said the others. There were so many standard lines to choose from. Classics like, "She will be missed," and "She lived a full life," or "She's at peace now." But all Lordsburg, New Mexico could muster was the top two, "So sorry," and the better place one. They didn't have words for this situation because they'd never been given them. All they had were awkward silences and empty phrases. Then there was his family. "I'm so sorry. She's in a better place now." He drove away from them. He drove out of town and down the road and onto I-40 West. He stared down the painted highway lines in silence, listening to the wind and the road seams. About 20 miles later, he pulled into the Alcamita rest area and parked his blue car under the big sky. He shut it off and had a nervous breakdown. He wept, shaking. Wind swept from the plane and through his open window, a gentle, hollow reminder of the immensity around him. Serene, the desert watched him cry through the moments he missed with his wife, laughing in the kitchen, moving into their home, cuddling on a Sunday morning. The memories burned through his tears. He cried while the shadows and light changed. The world darkened, and the smell of rain mixed into the sky. It took his mind back to a day in the park with her. They got caught in the rainstorm and had to run back to their car, screaming and laughing. The coppery smell of rainwater filled the world as they ran over the planet's surface, 93 million miles from the nearest star, which provided them warmth and light. A deep roll of thunder pulled him out of his reverie. He looked out his window and saw a dark wall of clouds. It cast a shadow over the desert, and he watched the crisp, dark line approach like an immense, predatory spaceship. He let it come. He sat there and watched the anvil clouds drift toward him over the plain. Jagged, finger lightning struck the earth, strobe-light veins from a primordial time. He felt alone and small. Hail pounded the road in his car with a metallic racket. He couldn't see the rain-wrapped tornado or hear its turbine train sound. A police car materialized from the vapors in his rearview mirror, cherry lights rolling. He let it come. He'd seen enough. He thought about how long he'd been in a coma, about the catheter and diapers he'd likely be wearing. He thought about the door he watched Jen pass through, filled with light. See the patent leather cop shoe descend from the car and grip the road. It flexed, and the other shoe joined, with a polished shine that only men from the 1940s could achieve. Men that would kick your ass. Men that ironed out creases and dressed well. Follow the shoes. They approached Adam's car, crushing the shoulder pebbles into the dense grayed asphalt. "Come on, son. Come on out," said the cop. "If it's all right with you, sir, I'd just like to ride out the storm." "Well, it's not all right, goddammit. Now get the fuck out of the car." Adam just sat there. Wrong. The cop reached in with both hands and snatched Adam up and yanked him out of the car window, kicking, and dragged him back to his squad car, keys jangling. Adam tried to struggle, but the cop's hands were from the Iron Age. All of Adam's power couldn't loosen his grip, not even a little. The cop tossed him into the car, cursing, and slammed the door. Gravel shot from the car's tires as they pulled away. The cop kept the hammer down on his Flathead 6 for the next 10 miles. He put the storm behind them. His dog was happy in the passenger seat with his head hung out the window, his ears flapping wildly in the wind. Adam sat in the back, broken. 10,000 questions ran through his mind. Who are you? Where are you taking me? What is this? But he didn't care enough, and he was too tired to ask. He just sat there, staring at the old man's neck, a sweaty stack of hot dogs, but pale white and freckled Irish. This was not a neck from Adam's soft suburban life. It was a neck from the Bronx, from where the city, where a much harder man lived. The cop clicked the lid of his chrome lighter up, lit a Camel, and clicked it down with military efficiency. Driving, he slid the lighter back into his pocket and looked hard at Adam in the rearview mirror. He blew out a thick stream of smoke, which bloomed in the car like an apparition, a swirling gray cloud of mysterious filigree. Adam waved his hand, and the smoke roiled into a C-47 Skytrain at altitude over Europe at night in 1943. The entire machine rattled, a horrific racket in the buffeting winds. Her twin Wasp engines tore out a harmonizing propeller roar. Adam sat across from a younger version of the cop. Nobody noticed him. The cop sat near the door, in the Jumpmaster seat. He sat with his arms crossed and his black boots stretched out. His square face of stone. He shouted 10 minutes over the roar, his voice concrete. In 2 rows, stretching to the back of the plane, grim-faced boys on benches. Most of them stared at the floor. Some of them prayed. Some of them had a cadence in their head. Stand up, hook up, shuffle to the door. My knees got weak and I fell to the floor. Jumpmaster picked me up with ease and tossed my knees into the breeze. Beneath her thin metal shell, whistling through the wisp of cloud and flak bursts, anti-aircraft tracers and smoke filled the sky. On the ground below, the pit of hell, explosions and machine gun fire and dismemberment, blood-soaked ground, screams and smoke. The plane shuddered and dipped suddenly and leveled out roughly. For a time, the cop prayed to himself. He looked to be asking for forgiveness. He pled with his hands under his bent chin. He checked his watch and looked out the door and saw the infrared beacon through his night vision visor. He rocked in his jump seat and genuflected and rose up and switched on the green light. Stand up, he said. He took his spot at the door's edge, his voice booming as if he were some steward there to represent war. The men snapped up, wavering a bit as the plane lurched. Hook up! The men hooked their parachutes to the static line. Check static lines. They tugged at their hooks, just as they'd been trained. Only now, they were terrified. The explosions and the gunfire intensified as the plane lowered the jump height. Sound off for equipment check. One by one, the boys would shout, okay, and slap the back of the next jumper, who would say, okay, and on through the plane. These young men huddled in a C-47, a metal tube flying through the maelstrom. The last one said, all okay. The cop looked at the first jumper, a frightened skinny boy with dark hair and a prominent Adam's apple. You'll do fine, son. Now go, go, go! One by one, they jumped from the plane. They jumped in the strobing chaos. The cop, weary and saddened in his work. He went through the motions, doing his best not to look them in the eye. But it was never that easy, and near the end of the line, one of the boys gripped the door with wide eyes. No, I can't do it, he said. Come on, son, yes you can. Just remember your training, the cop shouted over the wind. No, sir, I can't. Please. Look, you have to go. Come on now, it's not safe us here dawdling. Go! No, please. The cop moved like a monster, gripping the boy. He threw him screaming into the hellfire sky. The next one in line was stunned by the action and stood there looking at the cop with wide eyes. He reached out and grabbed the boy by the collar strap and threw him out the door too. The rest filed out, heads down under his hard gaze. After the last one jumped out into the screaming black sky, the cop slid down the whole wall and collapsed into a nervous breakdown. He wept uncontrollably under the empty drone of the Wasp engines. He cried, and it looked strange on his hardened face, a childlike expression out of place. His mouth dropped open in a silent O from the pain. He took heaving breaths. Sitting there, watching him in horror, Adam remembered that his grandfather never flew after the war. Grandma had to fly to Fort Lauderdale by herself. He had lots of funny stories about the war, like the time he wiped his ass with poison ivy and had to trek for hours, or how he banged his head on the bunk of a belly of his ship when the alarm suddenly went off. His favorite for any children at the breakfast table was a large patch of discoloration on his Irish skin that had nothing to do with the war, and stretched up his arm and across his back like spilled port wine. He'd turn in his chair, pull his ragged t-shirt up over his shoulder and say, "Jungle Rot, from the war." Then he'd nod knowingly at the boys, as if they surely knew what he meant. But he never talked about the boys he threw out the door. He'd mentioned that he was a Jumpmaster if asked, but the subject of war would be over then. He would fall silent and look out the window. The smoke cleared, and Adam found himself back in the police car. He thought about the man in that plane and stared at the back of the cop's neck as he drove them into the darkness at the edge of their headlights. And as he stared, the dream's veil dropped and he began to recognize the man. The squareness of his jaw, the rough, pale hands, the clear blue eyes watching him in the rearview mirror, full of mirth. "Grandpa Grace!" Adam embraced him awkwardly from the back seat. All right, he patted the boy's arm draped over his chest. "Don't go causing an accident now. Back down there." Adam tore into how he had no idea who the cop was, about how he was so glad to see him, and how he couldn't believe that he didn't see it before. And he explained how he had a stroke and went into a coma and ended up in this dream. Then he asked why he was chasing him. "Why was I chasing you? Well, to stop you from sitting on your lazy ass, that's why. You've got things to do." "I do? Like what?" "Like what? You kidding me?" "Well, no, I don't know." "We're going back to your body so you can wake the hell up." "What if I don't want to anymore?" "God damn it, boy. You're lucky I can't reach you right now. Don't fucking want to? You're a father, god damn it. Remember?" His grandfather's words stung him, and somehow he could smell the shoe leather of his father's closet. Next to his suits and wide ties from the 70s, hung his belts and a pistol holster, loaded. The light would turn on when he opened the door, and when he closed the door, a soft click. He remembered watching him shave, methodical. He could nearly feel the impulses traveling from his brain to his nerves as he tapped the razor's edge on the sink. "There's two types of people in this world, son," his father would say. "Predators and prey. Which one you gonna be?" It was all love. It was in the hopes of making his boy strong for this hard world. He remembered one day on the ocean. They were sailing off the coast of Fort Lauderdale, and he got seasick. His stomach felt like sloshing acid. He sat crunched, miserable. "Hey, you see any good movies lately?" asked his father. He pulled the rudder and checked the tension on the traveler line. "Not really." "Oh, come on. There must have been some seaworthy story you've seen." "Actually, I did see this scary one about a haunted abandoned ship." "Oh, yeah? Like a pirate ship?" "No, this was modern day. It was like a German warship or something. This couple in a sailboat found them drifting in the middle of the ocean." "You mean a boat like this one?" Young Adam agreed, and then told him the rest of the story, prompted by his father's questions while he sailed and watched the storm to the southwest. Adam got into the story, laughing at times. His father let him finish and sailed for a bit more and then asked, "How you feeling now?" "Better. I totally forgot. Wow, that is crazy." His father smiled and winked at him and tapped his head, and the tapping became Adam's daughter's finger as she bounced on his chest and giggled. Sunshine filled their kitchen, and he held her by the armpits and flung her into the air. She squealed with delight, and Adam snapped back into the police car. He said, "Let's go." "There's only one problem," said Grandpa. "We can't just drive right up to your eyeballs, you see. There's a coma in a way. We gotta get through it. The storm? No, that's the other door. You're not ready for that one yet. What are we getting through? That. His grandfather pointed and pulled the dog in. Far ahead on the dark horizon, a neutron star hovered over the desert. It resembled the sun, only in that it was the bright object in the sky. In every other way, it was more intense and pulsing. A crisp, white ring wrapped around like an immense halo made of porcelain. It pulsed, and an electronic beam shot into space through both poles. Adam could hear it. Beep. Grandpa put the hammer down. The car barreled down the highway. Grandpa, wait. No time, boy. That storm is on our ass. Adam looked through the back window and saw the darkness and the tornado racing up to catch them. It was gaining on them. The light from the star blasted through the windshield, casting Grandpa's square head in a cinematic silhouette. The dog whined beside him. The old Plymouth shook and shuddered, her motor thundering through the dark and light. He shouted for the boy to hang on. The neutron star's tidal gravity started pulling them toward her faster. Arcing from the store like a Tesla coil, immense veins of electricity stabbed the darkening sky. Lightning from the edge of the cosmos. Everything started to stretch, and as they drew closer, Adam noticed the pulse quicken. The hood of the car stretched away from them, as if it were made of rubber. Adam felt terror creep deep inside of him. Each pulse sent waves of energy crashing across the sky. The old Plymouth cast a 3-mile shadow into the desert, sharp as a razor. Adam felt the hair on his arm respond to the electricity. Grandpa told him to hang on, and they dove into the light.